Everyone, happy holidays and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network where we celebrate you, our loyal followers, we celebrate our team members, we celebrate our sponsors, and we practice and honor elevated listening. Our show today is a very special event. Wherever you are living in the world, you might look out your window and see a beautiful scene. You might look out your window and see something horrific. And we need to come together across the world and respect and honor each other, lift each other up, and talk about peace. Talk about how we can contribute to bringing peace on earth, peace in this world. And joining me today is an elite, incredible team, panelists who have extensive amount of experience, accolades, and awards, and are all about leading with their hearts, leading with the compassion and empathy that they have, the kindness that they feel towards humanity. Let's bring them out and talk about peace around the world. Our first panelist is no stranger to this platform. He is a very dear friend. Mr. Cini has been with me since the very beginning. He is a celebrated and prolific broadcaster. Not only is he on our platform, he's also on RVN television, and he is an entrepreneur and, again, a very close friend. Let's welcome Mr. Cini joining us from New Jersey in the United States. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. I really appreciate being included in this program. I'm very excited about it.
I'm very excited as well, Al. And you've got a beautiful background. And for those watching, that is a real background. It is not a green screen like what I have today. How were your holidays, Al?
The holidays were great. We had a lot of company. We got some more coming today. It's Boxing Day, not necessarily something we celebrate in the United States, but we're kind of making it a tradition here. More celebrated in the UK and in Australia, and our other guests can talk about that.
Oh, fantastic. And thank you again for taking the time. Let us welcome, going in order backstage, Mr. Ian Pelham-Turner. Ian reached out to me shortly after I started, and he shared the fact that we had an opportunity to come together and really bring people from across the world to share their stories. He has extensive experience as a world-renowned international broadcaster. He has a ton of accolades, and yet he's so humble, but he's always connecting people and bringing out the best in them. Let's welcome Mr. Ian Pelham-Turner. Hello.
Hello, good evening, good morning. I'm not sure what the time zones are anymore, but I'm glad to see Al, especially because we've been hearing about the snow bombing in New York at the moment. So I'm pleased you're warm and you're in a very good location. Very quickly for me, peace for me is happiness, and I think tonight all of us bring peace. We bring intelligence and we bring happiness to the world. And I think the reality with a program like this, I hope that this will inspire other people to actually listen to USA Global TV in the future and listen to all of us as well.
Thank you so much, Ian. And you're joining us from London, United Kingdom.
London. Yeah.
Fantastic. And joining us also from London is the beautiful and also very well accomplished Helena Chard. I might add that Ian and Helena are expert correspondents here on our platform. We do the United Kingdom news and culture together. Helena, come on out and let's find out how you're doing.
Yay! Yay! So good to see you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. Wow, it's been a really festive time, but oh, it's so good to be here. But for me, you know, there are so many extraordinarily brilliant people in the world and people that go the extra mile. And it's so good to shine a light on various people because a lot of times people go unrecognized and there are so many people to celebrate. And, you know, let's just not concentrate on negative news. We need something to balance it. So that's what I'm all about.
I agree with you. And you're all lit up as well. I love your lights. I love the lights behind you.
Yeah, I'm just my little festive bit.
Fantastic. And let's bring out our last panelist, who is new to our platform, but she's going to be a regular host here. I'm super excited that we'll be sharing more information about that. Daizy Gideon is joining us from Australia, and she is an award-winning journalist and filmmaker, and she advocates for the issues of Lebanon and the Middle East. Let's welcome her to our program. Hello.
Hi. Well, hello from down under. You're all in the darkness because we've clicked over to the next day, so we're quite a few hours ahead of you. But the festive spirit still surrounds us, and I'm so honoured to be part of this incredible panel. I've had the pleasure and the honour of meeting Ian and Helena in London, and it was divine, I believe, my meeting with Ian, who has now introduced me to this cast of dignified, not only broadcasters, but humanitarians and people who work for peace. So I'm very honoured to be part of this. And yes, I'm in Australia. It's only for a short break. I'm in the beautiful city of Sydney, which I'm sure everyone in the world knows, and the harbour and the Opera House. But I have been living in Lebanon, in Beirut, for the last 9 months, and I return to Lebanon in about a month to continue my work there, where I am now based. So I will be sharing with you everything I can from both those spectrums. Thank you again, Dr. Jack.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here with us. So as we get started with the topic, talking peace around the world, Ian, you shared something when we first started, and I know, Al, you had a question for Daizy. Why don't we go to Al first?
Well, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. And Daizy, peace is something that we find in our lives and in ourselves. It's also, in a broader sense, the larger issues of the world. And I know that you focus on the issues of Lebanon. And, I remember historically, Beirut has always been the Paris of the Middle East, had always been. And difficulties came along. And do you see that ever coming back? Do you see that ever happening again?
When you remind me of that expression, the Paris of the Middle East, the Switzerland of the Middle East, Lebanon went by many titles in the 50s and 60s into the mid-70s because it had grown into this jewel in a region that wasn't so sophisticated yet, wasn't so advanced, wasn't so liberal because, of course, the conservatism of the Middle East. But it was this gateway, and so it had exposure to so many cultures and became that. That Paris of the Middle East truly is a worthy and appropriate expression for Beirut. And yes, to answer your question more directly, yes, I do see it returning, but not only as the Paris of the Middle East, but a pioneer in what we're talking about today, because that's what Lebanon's true message is. It's a message of peace. And we can go into it a bit later, but it's the message that Pope John Paul II came to Lebanon in 1997. He was the first pope to visit Lebanon, and he came to Lebanon after they had held a special synod in the Vatican to talk about Lebanon, and he delivered the findings, and he described Lebanon as a message for all humanity about coexistence and peaceful coexistence because of the 18 different religious groups that make up the fabric of Lebanon. And for me, that is what truly represents the peace and the prosperity of Lebanon, and still exists in the soul of people. But outwardly right now, it's going through some challenges, some severe chaotic challenges and crises. But yes, I do hope, and I do honestly believe it will return to reclaim that mantle.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Daizy, you mentioned coexistence, and I think that prior to the pandemic, there was a lot of silos. There were silos around the world where we just keep our head down and we do our work, and that's somebody else's problem over there in that country. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And then
Yeah.
with the ability for us to connect all over the world, I feel that, especially our panel today, we want to help mankind. We want to spread kindness. We want to be able to appreciate and respect other cultures and other ways of doing things. So when we talk about peace, what can we as individuals do to promote this and get this moving forward?
If we're talking about Lebanon specifically, I think it's the same as talking about people around the world, like you said. I think humanity and the consciousness of humanity is at a particular point right now where there has been a great period of distrust in authority figures, and from every institution you can think of, politically, religiously, banking, in the last 2 decades in particular. So I think people have gone back to each other and gone back to looking at their neighbours, looking at their friends, looking at people who look alike. That expression, I'm sure you've all heard about. You've been familiarised now with that expression, because we trust people that we know. We trust people who think like us, like things like us. And this is where it comes back to where what we need to appreciate about being human. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. It doesn't matter where you live. It's about coming back to the humanity inside each one of us. And I think that's what the great thing is about us talking as this panel today from all parts of the world who have united, and we feel identically. All of us have the same feeling, and it doesn't matter what culture we grew up in, but we're connected because of our humanity. And so this is the thing that I would love to discuss with, we are going to discuss with everyone today. It's going back to feeling that intuition and that spirit that lives within us, that will guide us to be more peaceful with one another and trust our spirit that lives within us, which could be, for me, it's God. For others, it might be a higher power. But that is truly our guide and our north,
Thank you, Daizy. I appreciate that. Let's go over to Helena. What are your thoughts?
It's interesting hearing Daizy talk about Lebanon. Hugely, I don't know as much, and I'm learning so much that's going on in Lebanon. But I feel it's something that connects us all. That we have to find strength in community. So important. I feel that really when we talk about peace, well-being, and getting on, harmony, I suppose is the word. We all have to try our best to be tolerant and to forgive. And there's, obviously be kind. That there's so many things, but I think tolerance is a huge thing amongst communities, because you just, once you hear people and you listen to their stories, you discover, it's a strength, absolutely. And I think to be bold, and my port of call where I come from really is stories. I go back years, 10 plus years, researching and creating new stories for different platforms, whether it's to do with mental health wellness, whether it's to do with, finding joy, news, UK news, and share. I mean, there's different platforms that I work with. And, the more powerful the stories, it creates talk, you chat, it creates conversation. And obviously that conversation bonds people, and that then in turn can create change. And it's so important, because as I said, I almost became quite down about when I was researching. I thought, my goodness, the news, in today's world, it was just so negative. And we know, being in broadcasting, that you've got different sides to every story, and you've got, you know, right wing, left wing, and you have the different stance of every single story. But there was a real lack of positive news, you know, news to lift, and the way I call it is news to infuse, which is my thoughts on it, you know, to give views of a brighter future. And sharing uplifting news, it completely bonds people, it's empowering. And I absolutely feel so strongly about it. And with this comes, you know, or came and has come, it's given this platform, is really highlighting and shining a light on wonderful charities that do so much good, or wonderful people that wouldn't necessarily have a platform to talk about themselves, and they then can, I don't know, share all their passions, all the good that they do, and share them on your wonderful platform as well, JACALYN. It's just it's amazing to give people that platform. And that is so important to me, because, as I said, it ignites conversation. You learn so much about different cultures, and it leads to a positive change. And I think for me as well, King Charles III, obviously, the speech that we've been waiting for, his Christmas speech, which has gone down in history because it's been on TV for the first time, is wonderful. But again, he celebrated the sort of value of selfless dedication, obviously embodied by the late Queen Elizabeth II, and talked about all these amazing people too. So it was so lovely to actually, now we talk about things more, and we talk about how wonderful people are and how extraordinary people are, and how everybody, if you try your hardest, you know, we can all push to connect, but also create positive change.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for shining a light on good news, the importance of that, the tolerance. And the word that you said that really stood out to me is forgiveness. And I'd love to have Ian comment on this. It's so easy to hold on to something. He did this to me. She did that to me. And you might say, well, I'm going to forgive them, but you really don't. And you harbor that anger, and it comes through, and you basically separate yourself from someone over something that happened. And then it goes to the next generation, and the next gen, his family did this to me, her family did that to me. Ian, what are your thoughts about the power of forgiveness and how we can actually embrace this into our lives realistically?
I think forgiveness is one thing, but I think the reality is, for me, I'm at peace tonight. I'm in a tranquil situation now. So many people have supported me in the past few months to actually get to where I have got peace in my head and in my heart. And I think that the values of peace and kindness and forgiveness and just supporting people in general is going to be so important in 2023, especially. You know, and I look at because John Kerry, who is the Archbishop of Canterbury, talked in his Christmas sermon about kindness, forgiveness, and it's a one method of getting to peace. But I think peace, before you can achieve peace for the world, you have to achieve peace for yourself first, because I think it emulates out. You know, it's like a stone in the pond that actually spreads with the wave of peace coming throughout the world at the same time. And I think, you know, the values of peace these days is that people around the world, and I look at all the different countries that I work in and I talk about, every citizen, I think, in this world wants peace, wants happiness, and wants a future. And so forgiveness is part of what's going on in this world at the moment. And goodness, don't we need to get people to actually stop doing some of the terrible things they're doing right now. And forgiveness is a gift. It's a gift that we can actually offer people, and so say, we offer you the gift. What are you going to do to change your perception, your situation? And what are you going to do to create peace as well? And as I say, I think there's a tide of opinion that now peace is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I love that you talked about the fact that we have to have peace in our lives first, which means we have to really be introspective and look at ourselves and the decisions that we're making, and give ourselves grace when we've made a decision that didn't actually take us down the path that we wanted to go. Al, what are your thoughts about self-care and finding peace in your life?
I think that I want to pick up on Helena's point, because Helena made a terrific point on how the media goads us into loving and hating people that we've never met. So based on what the media wants and based on how the media make money, I'm convinced that I want to hate Meghan Markle or love Meghan Markle or hate Prince Harry or love Prince Harry. And anyway, we end up hating and loving people we've never met and people we don't even know. All that anger builds up and spills into our lives, and we can't change the media. I mean, that's one thing that Helena and Ian and Daizy will agree on. But we can certainly change the way we react to it. Our reactions to things that are designed really to provoke us. I mean, it feels good to respond to those provocations, I think. But you can always count to 10. My mother's best advice was always count to 10 before you open your mouth. I think if 90% of the world would just count to 10 before they open their mouths, we'd solve a lot of the world's problems right off the bat with that one simple strategy.
Yeah, good point, Al. Good point. I'm going to open it up for people to make comments. I think it also has to do with what I'm really adamant about, the power of listening, and listening with an open mind and with an open heart, and not judging what the other person is saying, but truly being present and being curious as to how somebody else sees things. So let's open it up and just feel free to comment.
I was going to say, actually, Dr. JACALYN, you have a great platform, and we can all lean on your set of tools really to help us, give us peace, to find peace, but also to better navigate change, which I think also is so important. And you've got a great set of tools, the power of listening and so much more. And it makes so much sense. But you have to get it out there. You have to share that with people, and also to share that with young people, which is really, really important. It's very exciting, in fact. So I will hand it back to you, Dr. JACALYN, because it's your platform and your tools that we're most thankful for.
Well, thank you so much. Ian, I know you have something to say. I just want to share 2 comments that we have from our friends in Uganda. Thank you so much for watching. And also Dr. Desiree, thank you for being with us. We appreciate both of you. Ian, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, everybody who's on the show tonight, I admire totally. I admire what Daizy is doing in Lebanon. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to actually speak out against some of the government policies that they're doing right now. There was a story about, I think, one of the people that she interviewed the day before they were landing in Lebanon, and a bullet went through the plane. So it's a type of place at the moment where, as I see it, and I'd like Daizy to comment on it as well, is peace can be achieved. We should never accept situations in our lives where peace cannot be achieved as well. And I think, the reality at the moment is that each one of us, we have great intelligence, we have great means of communication as well. And I think the reality with peace, tranquility, happiness, as I say, I sit here tonight. I woke up this morning, I was at peace. The sun was shining. I was looking out the bedroom window. I'm very fortunate to have moved to a wonderful place now with Helena's help as well. And I'm in a situation now where I'm tranquil, I'm at peace. And I want to share that peace, that feeling, just sheer joy with the rest of the world. And I'm sure it can be done. But in Lebanon, I think answers are required, and it'd be interesting to hear what Daisy's got to say about what are the answers to create peace in the first place.
Thank you, Ian. Daizy, over to you. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Sorry. I just want to thank you, Dr. JACALYN, for, again, for this, like Helena said, the platform that you've given us. There's a comment I want to talk about that, the media, the opportunity, as, Helena said, to reach people is so very, very important. And networks such as yours and affiliating and creating a global platform that can reach billions of people. I know, Ian, God bless you, have access to one powerful platform, but we've got to be able to reach many more people through different platforms on topics that really open their minds and give them the knowledge that empowers them. And this is really what drives me and the work that I'm doing. But going back to Ian's point, and Ian, you talked about the tranquility. And it actually hurt me when you were talking about the peace and tranquility, not for you. I'm so grateful that you have that, and we all deserve it. But it's because there's so many people in Lebanon who are escaping Lebanon. And I'm here now, and I've seen some people who've recently migrated, escaped Lebanon, because that's all they wanted was just a moment of peace. They couldn't find it and hadn't been able to find that tranquility living in Lebanon for decades. And especially the youth, the 20, 22, 25-year-olds who have lived through this crisis. We had a sort of a period of a flutter of stability and calm during the 90s and early 2000s, but it blew up in 2005 with the assassination of the former Prime Minister Rafik Hariri, and since then has been up and down, but true opportunity and peace and tranquility, it's so hard for the majority of the population to find. I have just spent 9 months, as I said, and traveling around the country. I go everywhere. I'm very fortunate to be in the position I am, that I can say I'm Australian, but I can also speak Arabic. I can use either one to help me get more and more access and more opportunities to sit with people. And I get to sit with them in the poorest areas of the country, on the grounds, wherever they are, I meet them wherever they are, and I hear the same anguish. It's very, emotional for me, but it drives me to try and work for that, because it's a country with so much faith. I have never gone across any country, and I've had the privilege of traveling to many, many countries and working in many, many countries over the last 3 or 4 decades. And I have never seen so many people who have faith and who believe in each other's faith. It doesn't matter whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you're born again. Across Lebanon, they all live together. They coexist and have done to this day. 18 different religious faiths coexist together. The beauty of it is that if you believe in God, then they respect you as long as you have faith. I mean, it's not that they don't respect you if you're agnostic or atheist. It's just that they have much more in common with you, and they understand you and they respect you, and they would never attack you for your faith. This is the most beautiful thing. Despite what you all hear and what the politicians in Lebanon try to, propagandize, religion has never been an issue in Lebanon. They live to this day in harmony, and they have that peace. And this is what drives them to remain committed to their country and their people, but tranquility that you talk about, that we have the privilege to live with, is absent across many areas of Lebanon. Not everywhere, because you can escape to the most beautiful villages in the most amazing mountains, surrounded in the most extraordinary greenery that Mother Nature has offered us. And that's why hiking is one of the most popular sports across Lebanon. I think people escape to the mountains to find that peace. But in general, it is something that is absent in the hearts of many people in the way they look at their future. Thank you.
I love hearing you talk about the Daizy as well, that when you're talking about strife and upset, there's always something bigger, and that's nature. And you talk about the beauty of Lebanon, and that beauty needs to be shared with everybody around the world. And so I thank you for that. It's it's something quite special. Also, something as well that I thought about is obviously bringing it over to UK side is King Charles III is known obviously as the defender of all faiths, and he is. And recently in his speech as well, he praised, all the charitable efforts of so many separate people and bodies that we know as well, NHS, etc., but also all the multiple different religions as well, giving their help and expertise. And it was just lovely to hear the King's speech, which I've heard a few times now. Which is great. So thank you.
Thank you, Helena. Thank you, Daizy. Something that I think, Daizy, you mentioned that I wanted to have us touch on is the younger generations, specifically through the pandemic, have gone through things that I've never gone through. They also have grown up with technology and using that technology to access games, some of these games that really get people set off. How can we help our young people to grow up with tranquility and peace, as opposed to getting to be older and then having to do that self-care, that reflection? Are there some tools, some ideas that you might have? Ian, it looks like you're going to say something.
No, and thank you for sort of just, I think that's a great question. I was just going to put a question to Al, because I wonder whether men have a different interpretation of peace to women. I don't know. And whether it becomes easier for women to talk about emotional peace, whereas it may not be for men. I just wonder what Al's thought in a second, once the other question was answered, what Al's thought on that.
That's a great question, Ian. I think that men might approach the subject of peace more from the point of view of conflict and whether it's present or absent. And women might approach peace more from a spiritual point of view, something that exists inside you and not necessarily externally or around you. I think what we need is a balance of both, because the truth is, if we don't have one, then we can't have the other. And I think, by the way, I do want to mention a friend of mine, Frank Viola, is watching, but forgot his Google password. And so he wanted to point out so he's not able to comment. But
Hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank. But he does make a great point. The genius of true free exchange is that one party gains more than the other. Is not that one party gains more than the other, but that both gain more than they had before. And if we talk about life in the modern world, and we talk about, I think, an awful lot of what King Charles is trying to accomplish in the beginning of his reign, when he talks about modernization, I think modernization is about accepting the fact that we're all in touch with each other in ways that we couldn't even imagine just 10 years ago. And that government, for all its power, is having a very difficult time keeping up with all the ways they can close that off. And we're doing a brilliant job as people getting around everything they throw at us to make sure that our voices are being heard. And I think that's a terrific opportunity for all of us. And that's another reason why it's great to have Dr. JACALYN and USA Global TV around.
Yeah.
Thanks, Al. And hello to Maria Eduardo. Nice to have you with us. All right, so Ian, I'm going to go back to you for my original question.
Tell me sorry, I'm 71 now. Yeah, I sometimes forget questions. Ask me the question again, please. Sorry.
Yeah, so our younger generation has grown up in this pandemic with the strife, with the war, technology. How can we instill peace and tranquility like what you have? How can we instill that in our children?
I think they already have it. They already have the answer, much more succinctly, much more focused than we can ever possibly imagine. You know, I work with young people. I work in a technology hub. They're all in their sort of teens and 20s. They are all inspired to change the world for the better. I think young people have a much clearer vision of what peace means to them. How they want to rid themselves of bureaucracy, of governments that really just care about remaining in their power position rather than helping the people. And I think, you know, the reality these days is that probably out of all the generations that I work with, young people are probably the most peace-loving perspective, potential people that you can actually meet.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to agree with Ian. I mean, I get to meet a lot of young people. I have 3 children between the ages of 20, from 18 and 23. And I have access to so many cousins, my nieces and nephews, and they're all in the same age range. So I'm meeting a lot of their friends, and we're having a New Year's Eve party, by the way, if anyone wants to come, because my son wants to throw his first New Year's Eve party. And then in Lebanon, I've had the privilege of going and speaking at the universities. I've been invited to speak at universities across the country, from the AUB, AUST, in different parts of the country. And I've got another speech coming up as soon as I land in Beirut, basically. And they are a lot of my followers, which is really wonderful. There's a lot of young people who are, you know, interested. They want to know what's going on. They haven't had access to information. But I agree totally with Ian that they just want to have, I mean, it's their age. They want to live life. They want to experience life. They want joy in life. They're not angry. They haven't been born, thank God, in an era of war, which, you know, our parents and you know, grandparents were brought in. We see war in the Ukraine. God help those people and bring peace to both Russians and Ukrainians. But what I felt when I was listening to Ian speak was that this is definitely what I hear when I'm listening through and in between the lines and the words of the youth, is they have this peaceful nature, and they just want to explore and live the life they were born to live, and live to the potential. And I think they don't know how, or things are challenging them with allowing them to grow into their full potential and achieve the opportunities. So I just want to, you know, acknowledge that with Ian.
Can I just jump in very quickly as well? The conversation we're having right now, wouldn't this show be great to be seen at schools, to teach young kids peace and to discuss it as well? Because I wonder whether peace can be taught.
I think there's a little bit more complex than that when we're talking about young children. My feeling is that they're great at conflict resolution, and like everything, there's the ripple effect. And which is, you know, taught from parents, taught from friends, children, whoever who teaches young people, but they need support and they need love. And they don't have the emotional intelligence. So you're talking, I mean, you what you're saying is fabulous, but they, you know, young children do not necessarily have the emotional intelligence to carry forward what you're saying. And also with COVID, etc., there's a lot of children who have been quite damaged. So from a mental health wellness, there's a lot more to do to give structure and give young people belief that they have the power to change the world and to change anything really around them.
That's great.
I suppose that they can teach kindness, and through kindness we can create peace and resolution as well. And I suppose, you know, I just throw it open to the panel is that I in my school days, I don't remember any time being taught how to resolve issues, but I wonder whether other panel members did.
No, I'll jump in on that. I think with all the education that we have here collectively, there are certain things that are just not taught. You're not taught about peace and kindness, how to listen, how to manage your money. There are so many tools that we learn as we go out into the world. And if we could actually bring educators in and say, hey, have you thought about incorporating this for the next year? I think that might make a huge difference. And I also feel that this show is really bringing out a lot of great perspectives. We should do it again. What do you think?
I like it.
Absolutely.
There's
We've
so
got lots to share.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about it, we're talking from 3 continents. We're talking from Europe, from America, and from Australia. This is how the power of your channel brings people together. And it's not a voice, you know, by itself anymore. You're actually attracting incredible, intelligent broadcasters and speakers from right across the world. And I think people like myself, Helena, I'm sure as well, Daizy, Al, I mean, you're such great people, but you have such great minds as well to be able to sort of look at subjects like this and perhaps bring some sort of, not resolve, but some sort of perhaps potential answers and questions that people can think about and think, yeah, we can do something like this.
Solution focused.
Yeah. There's a lot more. This is just breaking the ice, so to speak. So let's get together and discuss about continuing this wonderful program. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for staying up late. Thanks for getting up early. I appreciate it. I'm going to go around for each of you and put up your banner. Any last words you'd like to say for today's show? And if you'd like to have people reach out to you, that information will be there as well. Let's go to Mr. Cini.
Well, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. I guess I just want to add one thing, and we're talking about the importance of educating children and the values of peace and tolerance. But I haven't given up on grown-ups. I mean, I think if the world of adults could learn and become mindful of the fact that they're being manipulated into anger and that their frustration is being built by media companies often that have a vested interest in generating those kinds of emotional responses in adults, we have the ability in our own minds to turn that off, to shut off the noise, to realize that we don't have to go where people take us. And I think if we all learn that basic skill of controlling our own emotions and not being so quick to provocation by others, I think that'd go a long way to preventing a lot of conflict in personal lives as well as in the world.
Thank you so much, Al. Brilliant as always. Over to Ian.
Tonight, I just want to wish everybody who's watching this show, the whole world, peace in 2023. You know, I feel so lucky. I feel lucky to know all of you. I feel so lucky to sort of now, at long last, find that inner peace, that inner happiness, that tranquility that, you know, for some time has been hard to actually find myself as well. And I think it is time now for communicators, for broadcasters, for stations to actually start, as Helena was saying as well, positive news, happy news, positive things. But also at the same time to really highlight the type of values that Daizy is bringing to Lebanon and how we can actually support countries like that to actually get a much better understanding of the values of Lebanese people, for example, and how they can move forward in their lives as well. But I wish everybody a peaceful 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful message. Daizy.
Hi. If you don't mind, if you allow me to read just a few words from a letter that my daughter gave me this Christmas, because it encapsulates everything we're talking about. And I think it's really a very sensitive thing and a very moving thing that she wrote this for me. And she actually wrote it for her university assignment, which was even more mind-boggling. She said, in my mum's line of work, fear has been used brilliantly as a tool to oppress, to silence, and to devastate the lives of people. And yet, where hope seems to be lost, where the chance for change would require voicing an unfavourable truth, she commits her days and her nights to fighting for a better tomorrow. And so where my mum showed me the crippling power of fear, she also taught me what it was to be brave. Nelson Mandela once said, make your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. And there's more to that, but I just wanted to share that with you because it made me break down that my daughter really saw everything, me, who I was. And I want to send, it really moved me that, and what we're talking about here is fear. Fear is what I see prevents us from really opening to another. Fear is what prevents us from really following our purpose in life. And as Mandela said, we need to focus on our hopes. And this program and others like it, I really want to honor you, Dr. Jack, for giving us this platform. Talking about peace, talking about hope. The world needs people like us to remind them of the opportunity, the hope, the possibility that exists in every single day, in every single moment of their lives, if they're willing to, put aside the fear and have a go, as we say in Australia. Have a go, you mate. It would take a bit of courage, but I really want to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to be with you, and I hope we continue bravely and kindly together in this purpose.
Thank you, Daizy, and thanks for that transparency. That was really a powerful letter that you read. Thank you. We look forward to hearing more about that and your daughter in the future. Let's go over to Helena.
It's a little snippet, really, of something that Daizy summed up as well. Is it's so important. Community.
Whoops.
Oh,
I think we've lost it.
Maybe she'll come back.
The internet.
The internet. Well, thank you, each and every one of you. I really appreciate it. I can see that this is going to be something that we're going to be doing on a regular basis, fingers crossed. So I thank everybody who's watching or listening, whether you're on the TV or radio or a podcast platform, whether it's today or sometime in the future. The message is clear. We are all peaceful people. We want to use this platform as a way for people to come forward and share their stories, to not feel like you are isolated, to not feel like you're not loved. You are loved. People do care about you. People do want to hear from you. And we're leading the charge on that, right?
Yes, we are.
Definitely.
Fantastic. All right. Helena just popped back in. Thank you, everyone, again for being here. We look forward to seeing you. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm not going to say next week. We'll get together, find out when it's going to be. All right.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you very much. Goodbye,
Bye.
everyone. Cheers. Cheers.